Right, first things, as we've already discussed, this genuinely is stuff that I've been sitting on for a considerable number of years, and many of you may well notice names that you recognize in some of this material. Right, so let's see if we can go. There we go. So this little bit, I decided, because I found some Durin temporary rubber date stamps, I thought I'd start above Cebu and see how, oh, hang on, I'll do that, and see how it goes. And it went surprising, but it did take a while to sort out. So here we are, Rejang, Cebu's here, Durin is somewhere about here, and it used to be the ferry crossing for the Rejang before they built the road and the bridge. And then Kanawit and up to Song and Kapit and all the way up to Palaga. So this is just the material I've got. It's not comprehensive, but it's got some quite nice pictures as well. So here we are, Durin, sometime in the 1980s, and this is the post office. It's lurking here, and that's quite a nice picture by somebody we all know. There we are. That's the post office itself. There was a note on the back of one of the pictures. The car here has got a metal mesh screen. This is because the roads were so bad. That's to prevent the windscreen being smashed by all the gravel being thrown up. And the post box is tucked in here somewhere behind.
No, on the right, I think, Malcolm.
Oh, you think?
Is it not the little directly above the car, the roof of the car?
Oh gosh, you're right. Absolutely. I misread the blurb on the back. Well done, Roger. Yes, you're right. That's the post box. Well spotted.
I've got the same photograph.
Yeah, well, I suspect a number of us have got the same photographs.
Yeah, so, post box little faded. Poor thing.
Well, this is why I suddenly realised that some of them were fading, and therefore I ought to really get them all scanned just in case.
Well, not your photo, but I think the post boxes.
Oh, the post boxes. The photos, some of them are a little bit more faded than I think than they used to be. There isn't, as far as I'm aware now, there isn't a post office at Durin. I did try Googling it and got absolutely nowhere. So it's probably disappeared. Right, so postmarks, large temporary hand stamp.
Oh, yes.
Yes. None of them startlingly good. This is 81. I think this is 84. Oh, it might even be 81 as well. I think it's quite nice. These large temporary hand stamps I quite like. But I don't know how long it lasted. I'm sure somebody like Roger might well on his massive database be able to answer that question, or it may be that we just don't know. And there's it in 1992. So it was in use for quite a reasonable period of time. When it went out of use, again, as I said, I have no idea.
I would suggest, Malcolm, that those are rubbers and probably only had a 1 or 2 year life each.
Yes, you're probably right, Len. But I've only got that. I've got those two, which is this double. Appears. Even then, I'm not sure whether that's a double ring and that's a.
It is.
What do it mean? Whether
it's a double ring.
That's a double ring, definitely. This looks less. Sure, but we'd need more help and need more people with more postmarks to be certain.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, Roger. Go on.
No, I was just going to. Yes. Okay. There was. I haven't got my list. I was just going to get it online to have a look.
Don't worry about it. But you know, I mean, it might well be that a few more people could start ferreting, and maybe we could have a separate session on trying to sort out what we have got. Because obviously, I mean, part of this was triggered by me seeing a a couple of Sungai Kut covers on eBay, which again is one of the large rubber hand stamps. I regret now I didn't bid for them, but there we go. I got started and involved in this, so life is like that. Anyway, so there's, yes, I think Len may well be right, and there would be more than one rubber hand stamp, bearing in mind that, well, we're talking 81 to 92 at least, which is a reasonable period of use. And when did the post office stop functioning? They didn't build the bridge until, oh, can't remember now. It was 2000 and something, wasn't it? So prior to that, Durin was a sort of a stop-off point to pick up the ferry. And there's a lovely picture of the temporary drawing of the temporary rubber date stamp, which I've got a copy of, and I have no idea who drew it. So it might have been John Rogers. It might not have been.
Jack.
Sorry, Jack, not John. Yes, thank you. But that is quite a neat and useful bit of information for those who are interested in that kind of thing. Yeah. Right, so up from Durin is Canowit, and here we have a picture of the post office in Canowit. Again, probably in the early 1980s, because a lot of this has all disappeared. I discover trying to search for various things later on. So, and a picture of the bazaar at Canowit. I don't know whether this is still in existence. A lot of the bazaars, because I've been trundling through Google Street View. There's quite a lot on Google Street View, but a lot of the old bazaars seem to have been demolished or rebuilt or just disappeared, which is a great shame in a way, because they have a certain character to them. Anyway, that's the bazaar itself. And because I'd started to do this, I dug out my earlier stuff, old post-war, of course. So this is the star cancellation for Canowit. That's 55. It was introduced in 53. And again, I think that's probably philatelic. This isn't. This is a very tired Canowit in 85. I suspect this might have been via Chanky text, but I can't be absolutely certain. I've got quite a lot of this sort of stuff.
That is a different star cancel.
Is it?
There are two. I can now only see.
No, join in, for heaven's sake. Yes.
But there are two. There were two. You're right. The first one was issued in 53, and a second one appeared in 1963. There was a big round of issuing of cancels in 1963. I've spent several very, very chilly days in the research room at the National Postal Museum, where they've got the post office impression books.
Oh, right.
Looking at exactly this period and taking photographs of the pages from the impression book, which gives the date when they were registered in the UK prior to being shipped to Sarawak.
Oh, right. Right, so I'm going to have to ferret through what else I've got and see what I can find. Right, and probably you know the answer to this. So there was a straight line canceller, but I don't think every office got one. And then we see the M1, M2 and K1, K2 cancellers being issued in the 1990s. So this is Canowit's M1. I'm not quite sure why there's a pencil arrow pointing to something, but there is. And this is K1. Again, quite a lot of Chanky Tex's covers seem to have gone to Creations, Unisex Hair and Beauty Centre, I notice. And there's K2. Again, quite nice and neat, and I think fairly early.
Yes.
And they also clearly in a lot of these offices got these first aid cover cancellers. There's a separate bit. I haven't really got very many of those. They're just the odd one or two that have appeared because I don't really collect first aid covers. But it would be interesting to know how many of the smaller offices actually did have first aid cover issuing facilities.
I've listed the ones I know about in my Malaysia book.
Have you? Which volume?
That would be volume 2, I would think.
Right. I'm not sure whether I'll have a look. I think I've got volume 2. I've got volume 3.
Well, actually, it's in volume 1 because it's in the introductory section.
Oh, right. Oh, well, thank you for that, Len. Yeah, right.
Just as an aside, the K1s, of course, were counter-hand stamps, and the N1s were for the sorting office.
Right. So in theory, you won't. Oh no, I suppose that means you'd still be able to find both. Be interesting to see if anybody's got any genuinely commercial stuff from some of these smaller offices. I mean, Canowit's reasonably large, but
I've been collecting commercial mail quietly. You have to wait quite a long while to pick up what is undoubtedly genuine. In your Canowit one, you showed, I think, in fact, it was a registered cover which had contained post office paperwork.
Yeah.
And although they're as ugly as whatever, these are genuine usage. As far as I can judge, unless they're registered, most of Key Tex's covers, I suspect, never actually entered the postal system. Because they collected back stamps.
Yes,
but I think probably going back to Mr. Kiddleton and friends down the years, they were only very briefly in the post office.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I have a number of these. This one, of course, is a double usage, but goodness knows what. I can't read that, so I don't know.
That said Express, I think.
That did, yes, and this is from. I'm not sure. Can't read it from here. So it's been reused.
Yeah.
Back. So. Right. Hang on. So let's find. So counter. Right. So that's that. So Song was the next one. Up the river. I got a quite nice photograph taken. I'm pretty certain that's in the early 50s of Song.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah, I can't remember where I got it from. I've had it for years and years and years and years. It was actually written up, so I dug it out. And this is, of course, Chanky Tex's photograph of the Song post office. Again, probably in the 80s somewhere. I didn't record when I got the pictures, so and I didn't find a Song post office on Google. I don't think. I've not looked at all of them, but see, this is definitely Song. It's quite happily there, and I love the bike.
It's a chopper.
It's a chopper. It's an original. It'd be worth a small fortune now. That would.
Probably rusted long ago.
Oh yes. There's trouble with the tropics, isn't it? Oh dear. There we go. But that's quite a nice picture, actually. I quite like that. And of course, we dug out the. We do have a Song. That's 1951, I think. Yes. Star Council. Again. Okay, so there's another well-known gentleman. There we go. This is actually genuine, commercial. You're going to tell me there's more than one Song Star Council as well, aren't you, Roger?
Oh yes, this has smaller lettering. If you look on your previous slide,
you're right.
see there Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm moving my cursor, which you can't see. If you look
You know, I can see here. So this
if
is
you look at
quite
the
a
left
large
hand,
road.
if you look at the left hand of the two cent stamps in the top right hand corner, you'll see a wonderfully round or nearly circular. With
Yeah.
my astigmatism, it looks nearly round.
Yeah.
Oh, if you compare the size of that
Yeah.
with the rather squashed little figure, you'll realize that these are different. The
Yeah.
other thing, Malcolm, so I'm sorry, I'm talking
No,
much.
no, it's fine. 'Cause, this is the point. And if anything, Hu Jing's got any of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But this was an interesting period when people, perhaps LT can correct me if I'm wrong. If you wrote income tax on the cover, if it was your income tax return, it went post free.
Right. Yeah.
And so in 1976, 7, possibly 78, somebody collected a very large number of these income tax covers, which have no stamps on, but all say income tax. In fact, I think I've got at least one addressed exactly like this one, Inland Revenue Department, Kuching, Sarawak, but doesn't have income tax written on the top and has a tax mark.
Oh,
It appears to have been mandatory to write income tax.
And tax on the top. All right.
And show it was a return and not just ordinary correspondence, presumably.
I'll check with my fellow PSKS member about this peculiarities. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there must be quite a bit of this floating around. I mean, I've got a few.
Yes.
But yes. So right, that's the second one. I shall have to amend all of this or try and write it up. And then Song did get one of the original straight line cancellers, and that's quite a nice strike of it.
No, hang on. This is not what Jack Roberts called a straight line date stamp.
Single line, as opposed to the M1 and M.
No, but there are the smaller ones that were made in Italy.
Now I've not got any of those then.
Oh, I can sell you lots of them as
I've got these. I've got
but they are rather expensive. They're going up in price to you, Malcolm. Very rapidly.
Is this dynamic pricing? Is it?
Yes.
The minute you show an interest, the price goes up. Yes.
It's elasticity of demand.
This is going to be a trading, not fellowship. It's a trading.
You see, LT, you all thought that we just sort of messed around in England. We actually trade these things very, very enthusiastically.
I see that, but I only realize now.
This postmark, which came in 1982, originally was believed to have been manufactured in Malaysia, and Chanki Tex, when he first drew them to people's attention through the journal, called them Malaysian, and then I think Tex managed to get access to one in a post office and have a look at it, and it said made in England. So these are now referred to as English Type 1. Let me say, there are two manufacturers at this period. There's the English manufacturer who always has round-topped A's. Sarawak has round-top A's. There was then a company, still is a company, called Reiner, who came from, I think it's Switzerland, and their A's have a pointed top. That the Reiner font is quite distinct and quite different, but these are English with the round topped, and we'll find, well, you showed us, I think, some of the Kanawit ones, which have smaller font, but this is Type 1, which came in 1982.
So probably that's pretty early then, isn't it?
Yes.
There we go. So that's, and there's a, right. God, no, that's the same one, isn't it? But actually, that is a genuine commercial use. And I quite like this because, of course, there's a registered label that they've used the rubber registered hand stamp on top of it to get song in.
Yes.
So, which I thought was quite nice.
Yes.
And it's a nice commercial usage. So that's the same beastie, but that's 85. What else we got? Aha. And then we get the male M1 in use. This is what, 93. Right. Oh, well, we're doing all right, aren't we? We're trundling along quite quickly. Do you want me to attempt to go into part 2?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, let's get part 2. Oh, right. So we got as far as song. So then we're going to have a quick look at Kapit. There's Nanga Merit up here. Oh, and I should go backwards slightly because there's Nanga Matron down here, which I missed on the first route, the first bit out. Right, so a quick look at some of these. Right, Kapit. Well, this is the post office now, or roughly now, courtesy of Google Street View. Well, I didn't have a picture of it, so I went on to Google Street View, and there we go. So, and there is one of the undoubtedly post-war star cancels without the star, but again, commercial usage, again, inland revenue, still going free. And again, I've got a watch of these, which are quite clearly a reusing first aid recovery type things that obviously didn't get used. So Kapit registered. This is 88, again without the star. I think it's the same as this one. The look of the pit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Then we get K1. So
notice this is a Rhina. It has pointed A's.
Pointed A's, right? Yes.
And it actually looks. It's a different typeface.
Yeah, it's a completely different beast, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's
but the pointed A's are absolutely characteristic.
And we'll see some interesting envelopes as well. Not quite. I think Changi Tex might have had a supply of all sorts of strange things to use as envelopes. So one or two are very pretty, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Right. And this is the K2 version of the same thing. So Kapit was quite a reasonable sized office. Right, and then we go to Nanga Matron, which is back downriver. And again, this apparently the post box is in here somewhere, but you can't see it. But it's a lovely picture of the post office and part of the bazaar. So I like that because lots of people and obviously a lot of things going on. Right. So here we are. Now, this is a temporary rubber, or presumably this is a temporary rubber. It's smaller than the big temporary rubbers, and apparently was returned to the Canowet post office when the single line one was introduced in the late 1980s, at least according to Changi Tex, which undoubtedly would be absolutely right.
Yes. Those of us of a certain age will recognise that handwriting.
Yes, that's very pretty.
It's not Changi Tex's.
No, but it's obviously somebody's, right?
Oh, do you not recognise it?
No.
That's Jack Roberts.
Is that Jack Roberts?
Yes. Jack Roberts used black fountain pen ink and very small writing.
Ah.
He addressed very few because normally it's Changi Tex's writing. This must have come through without an address on it.
So Jack
has helpfully. This might well be a genuine address because Jack had many correspondents in Sarawak at that time. So that may well be a genuine person at a genuine address.
Yes.
But I don't think the letter was ever delivered.
No. Well, it's just but it is again, they're always very clean and pretty. This one's a slightly interestingly, it's obviously a chunky text, but it's right, so I wrote something about this. Returned to Nanga Matron in 1985, but the agent rarely used it as it was easier to send them on to Kanawit uncancelled. So this is a later use of it. Right. Oh, right. So there we go. That's the only bits I've got on Nanga Matron. Nanga Merit, which is further up. Now, this is possibly Nanga Merit. Again, this is from Google. And sometimes it's a bit difficult to work out whether the picture is actually right or not. I don't suppose, unless anybody over there could actually recognize it and say, oh, yes, that definitely is, or no, that definitely isn't. But that's quite a, I quite like the picture.
It's got to be worth a visit one day, Malcolm.
Yes, well, some of these more lunatic places, indeed. Of course, they're much more accessible now.
Yes.
Because the road network is much more comprehensive. But this is actually a picture of the postal agency, presumably is part and parcel of this wonderful shop house with all sorts of things in it. And it's not, there's obviously not a post box, but that's what the picture says. That's the Nanga Merit Postal Agency. And here we go.
I already also have that view of the postal agency, but mine is much more faded than yours. So not quite sure how that happened. It's been out there longer, I guess.
Oh, possibly, or just the processing. Sometimes the processing is a bit iffy.
Yeah.
I said that. Yeah, I thought that was part of the reason why I thought it was time to try and actually get them all scanned as well.
Yes.
So at least we have a record, and then possibly we'll write something up. Anyway, so here's the Nanga Merit, the presumably a temporary rubber date stamp. That's what the blurb says anyway. So again, obviously just philatelic, and then
now that is the original these are the Italian ones.
These are the Italian ones with the pointy,
with a very small writing,
the
rotors used to get jammed.
Yeah,
the dirt got in the rotors, so most of them lasted barely 5 years or so, and yet you will find one or two. I think the last one I've got is dated 2008 or 2009.
Oh, right.
And I've no idea that there can't have been that many digits on the road on the ring. So I don't know exactly what went on, but these are the Italian. This is what Jack Roberts calls a single line date stamp, as you've described it, and these preceded those English type. The one you showed us from Song with rather larger letters. What it was replacing were these, which failed quite quickly.
Oh, right. There we live and learn, you see. So yes, that's quite a thing. I know. Right. Nanga Merit's, of course, interesting. It came into use of 88 or earlier. And I've got this little note which says that Chang Yui Shui addressed a few covers to himself and sent them to the agent at Nanga Merit. They were intercepted by the postmaster at Kapit, who rang him and explained the date stamp was in his possession, having been returned at his request, as the agent had not carried out his duties. The postmaster also found the date had jammed at the 22nd of April, as you were saying, Roger.
Oh.
April 88. As he was about to return it to Kuching, he kindly cancelled the covers before he did so. And I'm not sure how many covers there were. I'm sure that out there amongst you are a number of covers, and he obviously also kindly used the Nanga Merit registered.
Yes, I have one of these, and it's 004, mine. Number 004.
Oh, number 004. Oh, brilliant.
004. Yes,
That's the James Bond cover. It's 007.
yes, indeed. Yeah. Otherwise, well, mine's on a postal stationery envelope, so there.
Oh, brilliant. Well done. So,
But well done, Cheng Yu Shi, because it's not surprisingly addressed to him.
yes, well, I would assume that anything with 22nd of April 88 is now to Cheng Yu Shi.
Yes, 22nd of April 88, absolutely the same.
I think I've got 2 covers, but I can't, I'll have to re-ferret in the occult. I'm not going to do it at the moment. But so these are going to be increasingly rare, of course.
Absolutely.
So you guys
Offers are open.
guys out in Kuching, start looking for these, because and if you got earlier than 22nd of April, then you're on to a good thing.
Really are, yes.
Yes, absolutely. But so thank you to the postmaster at Canawit for that one. Right, then right up the top of the river to Balaga again. Really a nice photograph of the post office in the 1880s, in the 1980s, 1880s. Oh God, I'm losing it. And here is actually a picture of the counter as well. Thank you, Chanky Tex, for that. So that's quite nice. I'm not sure what, and he also sent me a picture, or he obviously took pictures of. So this is the bazaar.
Oh.
Again, I can't imagine that that's still there. I really can't. But it has a wonderful atmosphere.
I think it would have fallen down by now.
Yes. It was decidedly looking a bit iffy, wasn't it?
Yes.
But it is a glorious sight.
As you say, it's a wonderful atmospheric picture.
Yes, and of course most of this has disappeared because the roads have come, and
Yeah.
you know, you got new concrete build and everything else. So
Shame.
and so yes, I think it is a shame in a way, because
That must have been horrible to live in, I think, actually.
I suspect you're right. I suspect the quality of life has gone up markedly, but
Yes.
they do have a certain ambience, don't they? They really do. So so here we are, Balaga. Ah, right. So the post-war star.
About the star.
And this is actually on official mail, obviously been reused. Quite nice, rubber registered, and and quite a nice Balaga official post paid.
Has anybody seen a Balaga with a star, with the actually got the star in still, or did that just never happen?
I don't know. I don't know.
I haven't got one with a star in.
I think some of these were. I must double check. My impression, but I need to check, is that some of these were the post office impression book. The Chancellor has no star showing, so it's as though either the star hadn't been inserted from the box that went with each Chancellor, or possibly it only had positions for the date, the month, and the year. I suspect they all had the slot that you need to put the star in. I think they probably all had them. There are one or two where the star comes and goes, but I without looking in detail, I need notice of the question, as they say in Parliament. As to, I think there are one or two that started without a star, and then somebody found a star and popped it in.
Right. I'll have to have a look. But I sort of dug out representative samples. That's it. And that one, of course, is quite nice because that genuinely went through the post, because on the back we have it going via Kapit down to Cebu, and then off to Kuching.
Nice.
Quite like this one. Again, without the star. and I shall now double check to see whether it's different from the previous one. Oh, I've lost it. Is it? Don't know. This is 73. Seems to be going strong, but it might be a second one, the second issue. And again, actually, that's quite a nice, if slightly torn in one corner, genuine usage, genuine commercial usage. And then we get this single line date stamp. That's upside down, but it's quite nice. And again, commercial usage. I'm not quite sure why I've got quite so much commercial usage from Balaga, but there we go. And then finally we get the K1s and the M1s. Well, I've only got K1 and M1, I think, and that's it. So there we go. That's a little triplet up the Rejang from Durin with some of the postmarks from that period, but obviously not all of them, or probably not all of them. It would be interesting to know what other people have got. I think it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it before, but I think it's quite a interestingly collectible area, because I don't think a lot of these didn't last that long, did they?
No. Could we go back to Duran, possibly? Is that possible?
Oh, of course it is. Yes. The Mystic system currently is working. I wish I hadn't said that, because it will undoubtedly die on me. There we go.
Durin rather than Duran, Durin.
Durin.
Yes.
Yes, as opposed to Duran. There we go.
Oh yes. Okay.
Now, which
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely sure that was the comments that have been made that there were two temporary rubber hand stamps, because I got a single one like yours to not to the same person. So going to Lee Tang. Oh, sorry. That's 30th of December 1981, but it looks the rubber stamp looks very, very similar indeed.
The word.
And then there's this double one, and this double one I got 31st of October 83. Yeah,
I'm not sure about this. This is the 14th of November, but I'm not quite sure whether that's 81 or 84. It does look different.
It looks very, compared with mine from October 83, it looks very worn. So I think it might well be 84.
Ah, right.
They didn't last very long, these rubber ones, did they?
No, because you see that Sarawak there is much further out from the ring than here.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely two sorts.
Yeah, there were. I think I've certainly got 4 distinct, and I think Jack, 3 of them from 81 to from 81 to 84. There were 3 different temporary date stamps.
Right.
I've then got a later one from 1992, after Jack had ceased to keep records.
Right, the same as this one.
There was another one.
Presumably.
But there's almost certainly, there must have been something, assuming the office was open.
There must have been something in the middle.
Between 84 and 92.
Yeah.
Could you go back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
Because my 31st of October 83 is not the same as this one.
Ah.
The Sarawak letters are very much further apart. I mean, very much further apart than either of those two.
Yes.
So yeah, as you say, there's several around, because these rubber ones really didn't last more than a couple of years, did they?
Yeah. The October one, 31st October, is the second date stamp, temporary rubber date stamp,
right,
which Jack recorded as 39.5 millimeters. There was one issued, there was a 36 millimeter in 1981. Then the one that John has just referred to in October, which went, that's a sort of, Dr. Ngu recorded that second one in 1984, but I've not seen it that late. And then there was a third one, a bigger cancel again, in October 84, which Jack recorded. And then, as I say, there's another large one in 1992. But I suspect there are more, which is why it would be very good if LT can do anything to encourage the local collectors to join in with these calls. If we do some more of these modern covers, because they're very difficult to get hold of. Most of them came through 2 or 3 of Chang Yushi, Chanky Tex, Francis and Gu.
Yeah, I think
So, and we've got quite a lot of them, but the gaps, the life of these things is quite short, and we've got gaps in what we've been able to acquire, which almost certainly were filled with other councillors we haven't got.
Yeah.
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 Could you give me those diameters again, Roger, of the first 2 or 3?
Well,
Is it in your book?
John, it may be easiest if I send them to you.
Yeah, sure.
And I can send you the earliest and during. I'll do that. I won't be able to do it until this afternoon, but
No rush, no rush. No. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, it would be interested to know. So presumably, some of the local collectors who organised getting these cancels done also kept examples for themselves. So presumably there is stuff over there, LT.
Yeah, we actually have a physical meeting, and also our WhatsApp group has this type of display. Personally, I didn't realize it was so complicated as such. But definitely, I have a few members who are very enthusiastic about this.
Yeah.
I'll put a highlight in WhatsApp, and hopefully they can do a presentation on this one.
Yes.
The only thing that I discovered is that we have display in our physical meeting is actually on piece rather than on cover. And Chunky Tail and feel is it when he offload his material on covers. But what I observed, actually, I was quite surprised to find very few actually commercially used.
Oh God, yeah. Well,
it's quite a surprise to me, because I thought, given that the older traditional poster history is difficult to get, we can understand. But this new one, the phenomena that is strange to me is that they always present in on piece, you know. So I will highlight to them in our communication on WhatsApp and let you know whether they are prepared to do a presentation on this Zoom. Yeah.
I've been looking on and off at the skeleton date stamps, the ones that are usually used in an emergency for a week or a month, occasionally as much as a year, when another councillor is not the standard councillor is not available. And I'd be happy to do a display of those. And 1 or 2 of those I've picked up over the years clearly were used only for a week or 2. I've got Jack recorded a great many because Chanky Tex would know that the skeleton kit had gone out from the post office, but I've managed to pick up a few, but literally possibly 2 or 3 that Jack never recorded. But they're very hard to find. But it would be very interesting to try and compile a complete list. I have produced a list of the ones that I've got, but I'd be happy just to do a morning display. I'd have to start from scratch to get it ready, but I'm happy to do that in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Skeletons.
On my side, I'll highlight to our fellow members in Kuching. Just a matter of interest, who actually now in possession of Jack's collection there in the UK. Actually, presumably they didn't come back to Sarawak.
It's
Who has his collection?
Jack's whole collection. His son still has the collection.
Is his son interested to do a display? That one will be a more complete.
I mean, those of us in the UK know his son is called Mike. We know Mike Roberts well. Mike's main interests are in the West Africa, and also the coins and banknotes of Sarawak and I think North Borneo. He did do a display in the depths of COVID. Mike Roberts did a display on notes and coins, which we recorded and put on YouTube, and that's had a large amount of interest. It's had a lot of viewings, more than many of the philatelic YouTube recordings that we've put up. But I'm not sure whether we'd ever persuade him to put it together. We could ask, but I mean, Jack had a huge collection of postmarks. Well, and it's still there, and it's rather. I'm beginning to regret saying we'd record this because I'm not sure we're going to be able to put it up after some of the things that have been said. But Mike, Mike Roberts, he will look things up occasionally if you ask specifically, did his father have X or Y? But I'm not sure whether he's got time to do a display.
Yeah, he's quite involved with A Cockermouth because he.
Do you have a statistic basically on how many post offices are there during presumably from 1963 to 1963 for the 60 years or so, you know? Do we have a statistic on that? Because like in the Brooke dynasty, it's quite easy to confirm it or refine about maybe 30 or 60 stations. Is that into the hundreds or what?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've got. I mean, because there were loads and loads of these small postal agencies opened. Some of them didn't last that long. Some lasted longer than others. I mean, I literally wasn't joking when I said I could go on and on for. Yes. And I've only got a limited collection because I was not collecting originally when Jack Roberts was collecting. I sort of joined in much later on.
Yeah, likewise.
So, but I've postmark. I mean, there was a whole mass of tiny post offices around Kuching. I've got some.
Yes, most of the shopping centres when they opened, the shopping centres had a sub post office in them, postal agency in them that had a postmark, and quite a lot of these, literally all that remains as a record is one temporary rubber date stamp. Now we know the life of these was a couple of years at the most, and then they were gone. There were a few that were linked to big petrol stations. You find Petromas. There's 2 or 3 councils because Petromas is the Malaysian.
Petronas, yeah, Petronas is
Petronas, yes.
Yeah,
that I think there's a few of those. So you find these sort of, and we've got examples. I've certainly got examples of a number of these. It peaked. I I think probably in the 1980s and 1990s, there was the maximum number. And then gradually the postal service has declined worldwide because the internet came along, electronic messaging took over, and the postal services went, particularly small offices, tended to close, and only the big towns were left with post offices. I mean, this seems to be a pattern worldwide.
LT, presumably the post office issued postal notices saying what was opening and what was closing. Is there an archive somewhere which will have all that information in? Would it be in Kuching or would it be actually in KL?
Most likely a record will be in Kuching and or in KL. I'll contact Post Malaysia and then check with them the record if they have, and then I'll come back to you next Zoom fellowships.
Oh, thank you. That'd be very interesting, I think.
Yeah.
They have a good source. At least we have a best, and then fill in the gaps. Of course, I think to encourage collections, they must know the range and the limit, you know, so that there is some framework you can actually operate within. They will give you some incentive. Otherwise, to me, it look infinities and you know.
Well, it's not infinite, but I think it's an interesting period. And there was quite a lot going on, and of course we have at least got a partial record, courtesy of Chunky Tex and others.
Chen Yushi,
yes, precisely. So it would be quite nice to.
I noticed that they only started sometime in 1980s. So the interesting period is 63 to 1980. Where there's no information technology ICT to impact upon.
Up until these started to appear, it just seems to have been the standard star date stamps, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you know, seasonal greeting, Christmas card, Chinese New Year card were very rampant during the 1960s and 70s, and then it dropped off because of the ICT using WhatsApp.
Right. Yeah.
Also, there is a system called dedication songs. You know, you dedicate some songs or broadcasting RTM. That one, the radio station received a lot of requests from the various rural districts.
Yes.
But that one, the resource of Postmark, actually, the genuine one will actually send their song requests to the station in Kuching.
Oh, yeah, I think I've got a couple of those somewhere.
Yeah, I've certainly seen some.
Yeah.
That will be the junior commercially used.
Yeah.
Post Malaysia published an annual guide to its services, which includes a list of post offices. The ones I've seen have not been totally reliable, but nevertheless, it's a starting point for any listing of offices.
Is that in your book? Well, a copy of those notices.
No, I didn't cover postal offices.
Right.
I did Singapore, but I didn't do Malaysia. While I'm speaking, Malcolm, could I have a look at the two first day covers you showed, the Canal Wit and the on postal service one?
What, that one?
No.
Or that one?
That one. Yes.
And the Canal Wit, so that's 1 Jan 94. Okay. And the other one was a Silver Jubilee cover that had been reused.
Oh, right. Yes, I know the thing you mean. Hang on. It's in here somewhere. That one.
Ah, yes. What they said, that's 1st of July
88.
88. It's a 1985 Silver Jubilee. Abdulaziz. Okay.
Yeah,
I've got a list of these reuses.
Oh, right. Well, amongst the other ones that I've pre-prepared in case it was of sufficient interest. I've got a small pile of reused covers like this, spread out amongst a number of offices. So I'll try and dig them out, see what we've got.
Yeah.
Many
Just
of them.
the Malaysia second edition to press. So any info you have would be very, very welcome.
Okie doke. See what I can find. But yeah, I've got a little wodge of them. I think they're still sitting in a box file. I was looking at ploughing through the other day as I slowly try to find, accumulate each of the post offices, what I've got, into a file so I can find it.
Many of them have a big obliterator in red, usually, over the first day design.
Oh, right. I'm not sure. No,
I
haven't got the box here, so.
Right.
There were some that were actually officially overprinted, but I only know of one or two examples of that.
Right. They looked to me as though these old first day covers, commemorative first day covers, which would have been sold for 20 cents or 30 cents or something. These were the unsolds, and they just had a standard obliterator that was applied, and then they were sent out to the offices for stationery. I'm going to have to leave at this point, but don't let me stop others from continuing. And Malcolm, if you can just close it down at the end, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm sure I could work it. I'll probably work it out, but
yeah,
I think we're probably close to ending at this point, aren't we? Anyway.
Yeah, but Ross, then that was very interesting when you said about an overprint rather than an obliterator.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice to see one of those sometime.
I'm just trying to think. I think what it was on that instance, it was where they'd issued it as a postal stationery envelope.
Ah. Okay, well, we'll wait with interest on that one, I think.
Right. So yeah, that's another little sideline that's worth exploring, because there must be they clearly used loads of these. As I said, I've got a small wodge. I can't even remember where I got it from, but it was probably the auction, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wodge
for a tenner. Wodge for a tenner.
Yes, wodge for a tenner. Yes.
We're going into the trading mode again.
Yeah. Well, this suggests, so there must be stuff out in Kuching, LT. Because
this is very strange, because you see, he said that the handwritten script is actually inkjet, EN stands for inkjet Lim Wu Choi. All right, and then you see the Pagara Post Negri, the type one, first line in Director of State Post. All right, but strangely he put up FD. Is it C or G?
That's it. That's first day cover, FTC. Yeah.
Correlate with the Bahasa addressee, and then it looks strange why the FDC is there. Then there's the inkjet Lim Wu Choi. There's a name of Chinese, probably was. I can check with the record from Post Malaysia in Kuching whether there was a inkjet Lim Wu Choi. I don't know the name. But it doesn't look correlated. Why is there FDC suddenly appear there? It looks, what is on their mind when they.
Well, unless you have to check the date, whether in fact the postmaster at Kapit is writing in to say, I want some first day covers for something that's coming up, and there's a bit of the post office that actually deals with first day covers.
Yeah.
It's obviously from the postmaster at Kapit.
And bottom there is very strange. I cannot use my cursor. The last printed one, Sampu Surat Hari Pertama. You can
down the bottom here, yeah.
Sampu actually mean, if my Bahasa is correct, means sample, But why is there a sample of Surat Hari Pertama? I'll check with
Just means
other
first day cover.
Is it something which is a test cover which
Yeah.
has not approved, or sample? Sample look like sample because they anglerize their into the Bahasa Malaysia English word. So I'll check on that one. It look interesting. Sample, all right.
I think that translates as sample of first day use, or what we would call first day cover.
Yeah. Then it will be very interesting. It may not. It could be a test sample. Well, I wouldn't think they go into that details. This test sample will be actually in the archive actually before they have the final approved version. Maybe you can check for that jubilee in 1985 what was the original, what was the issue first day cover. That one was 1985, presumably 1st of July. All right, I've not down the date, see whether I can find some. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Well, because this is a Malaysia one, isn't it? Because that's Selangor.
Malaysia. 68, is it? 88, is it? Because
It's 1960 to
the
85.
first day cover is supposed to be 85 or something like that, celebrating 25th anniversary of the Jubilee, is it? Jubilee Pera.
Yeah.
So it's 25th anniversary, 1985. It was used here as a offload reused material in 1988.
Yeah.
That's not unusual. There's a lot of these around.
Yeah, there is a lot because for different ones as well. So I mean that's a whole separate thing. But obviously the postal service system just presumably sent them out for reuse because it was cheaper than using new envelopes.
Yeah, they had them. Why not use them?
Why not use them? Very, very, very economical.
Yes, actually, that is a very nice example because it hasn't been obliterated, Malcolm.
Yes, yeah, and I'm sure.
And that's unusual, I think, because usually they are.
I'll check.
Mine are not obliterated. They're just normal covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have a look and see what else I've got on that in that kind of front as well.
Yeah.
I've got a few of these because presumably they came originally via Chunky Tex or somebody into the auction because, as you say, it's the 10 quid a bundle situation. Yes. I think.
Yeah. Little regarded until maybe now.
Well, I mean,
the value has suddenly shot up.
Yes, absolutely. It's for commercial usage.
Yes, everybody should have one.
Okay.
Okay. So
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, LP.
Okay. So
we look forward to more of this nature.
Well, I can do at least another one on this without. At the moment, I've got sitting.
Okay, we look forward to your next Sunday presentation. Meanwhile, we'll be meeting. Normally, I'll be meeting my members at 2 o'clock. So by the time 4 o'clock, I'll give you some information. What's the feedback from that meeting?
Yeah, and if your guys have got, I'm sure lurking somewhere out there is quite a lot of this sort of stuff. Whether it's on piece or cover doesn't really matter so much as the fact that it would be interesting to see.
It's this rubber stamp period, this skeleton postmark period, which is most interesting. And we're talking about really rare stuff.
I think scarily a lot of this is incredibly rare. You know, you're talking maybe less than 10 covers.
Yeah, well, still existing.
It's in the same league as some of Simon's. Don't tell him that, though.
Yeah. I don't know that the laughter is an encouragement.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a horror of paying thousands of pounds for these. I don't think that will happen.
No, I don't think that will happen.
Wishful thinking,
Yes, but you know, some of them
so
are.
We look forward to your continuation next week, and I'll pull up my feeler up on your.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. So yes, so we look forward. So do you want me to do one next week then?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that. Right.
Very good.
Okay, and then we'll see what it does.
Thank
Okay.
you, Malcolm. Thank
Are you
you.
going
Yes,
up another river then, Malcolm?
In fact, I have got it set up to go up another river.
Oh, brilliant. A nice way of doing it. Lovely.
Okay.
Okay, right. You take care, guys. Right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
I think I've got the end button. Right. Cheers then, everyone.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go.